Joined this morning by Lindsey Singer. Lindsey Singer is with Colorado Rising Action, where she serves as communications director. And am I being too harsh in my assessment of Prop 112, Lindsey?
No, you're not. In fact, the Denver Post editorial board just came out against it yesterday, so I think you're pretty spot on.
Well, and we have seen any number of government bodies, the Board of Weld County Commissioners. Among them, we have a contingent of mayors against Proposition 112 in northern Colorado, saying the exact same thing. So let's drill down, pardon the pun, into why this initiative, this Proposition 112, is so very devastating to the state, and in particular, Weld County.
Yeah, so in Weld County alone, it'll block 85% of new oil and gas drilling on non-federal land. So it'll be devastating for that county in particular. And 94% of the private land in the top 5 oil and gas producing counties, and that includes Weld County, would become basically off limits for new drilling. So those companies will just pack up and head somewhere else. It's not like they're going to stop drilling. They'll just take their business to another state.
And we've already seen the impact of Proposition 112 in northern Colorado, in Weld County, in Greeley, as a developer has decided he's taken a wait-and-see approach. I mean, he's already got funding in place. He's already got all the mechanics of this project buttoned up. But because of his concern with 112, he's basically saying, you know what, I think I'm going to wait until after Election Day to move forward with the project. And that's only one of the negatives associated with it, because I love the argument that's coming out of the proponents of Proposition 112, and that is, well, it's for the children. Obviously, they don't understand the economic driver that oil and gas is in the state, particularly when it comes to education.
Yeah, so there's about $1 billion in local tax revenue that oil and gas that will be lost every year if 112 passes. And it's interesting because it's for education. They fund local libraries and parks, but it's also 77% of the job loss would occur outside of oil and gas industry. So it's more like local construction jobs and teachers, local government. All of that will be affected big time.
I'm just looking at an opinion piece that was in today's Greeley Trib. It was written by Megan Myers. She supports Prop 112. She's the founder of UNCO Earth Guardians. She's a graduate student in environmental policy and management at the University of Denver. So just playing devil's advocate here, I'm going to share her thoughts with you, and I would like to get your response. She writes, the oil and gas industry in Colorado is taking desperate measures to ensure ballot initiative 112 does not pass. The only argument that the industry has provided is that the ballot initiative will negatively affect Colorado's economy. Interesting that basically that's just an aside for Ms. Meyer. This is in part because the oil and gas industry cannot deny the explosions, spills, health hazards, or deaths that have happened at the expense of the expansion of oil and gas development, going on to show that the only real thing that matters to the industry is money. Now, here's my concern. The EPA was founded on a concept, a precept known as the paralyzing principle, in which the EPA looks at the worst case scenario and then reverse engineers in terms of making regulatory decisions. It seems to me that that's what we are looking at with this 2,500-foot setback initiative. Am I wrong?
I don't think you're wrong, but I think something that's important to keep in mind is that Colorado has the strongest regulations in the nation on oil and gas wells. So there's the federal regulations with the EPA, there's state regulations that are strong because of our legislature, and then there's local regulations as well. And a point in that op-ed that you just read, the explosions, that Firestone accident that was terrible
Yes.
and devastating, that making the setback farther back would not have prevented that. And it won't prevent something like that going forward. And following the Firestone accident, other regulations were put in place that would prevent something like that from happening in the future. So this initiative isn't connected with the Firestone, and that's kind of a scare tactic that she seems to be using. But I wouldn't underestimate the economic impact, the local impacts for this setback at all.
8:44 now, 1310 KFKA, 1310KFKA.com. Lindsey Singer is Communications Director with Colorado Rising Action. Okay, I hate identity politics. Let's just get that out on the table. And we're already seeing the blowback where women who support Brett Kavanaugh are being called gender traitors. This on uncorroborated allegations, but the far left is, not going anywhere soon on this entire equation. Now, I came across a piece that was in CBS 4. I pulled it off their website, talking about how women voters are key to Proposition 112 passage or its failure. And again, while I'm not a proponent of identity politics, I can see where the woman's perspective here is one of some concern, because a lot of what went into this initiative could be considered to be emotional blackmail. Does that make any sense to you?
Yeah, well, I think women's vote is important no matter what, and I wouldn't underestimate the female voter in any way, coming from being a female voter myself.
Right.
But I would say that I think a lot of women, are paying close attention to local education, mm-hmm. and I think that has a lot to do with it. And I think that a lot of women are small business owners, and that has a lot to do with why they oppose 112. So I would say those issues in particular really hit home with a lot of women.
Absolutely. Lindsey Singer, Communications Director, Colorado Rising Action. Tell us a little bit about Colorado Rising Action and where we can learn more.
Yeah, so Colorado Rising Action, we support conservative principles, and we use tracking and research to really hold the left accountable. And you can find out more at coloradorisingaction.org. And there's just one other point I want to make on Proposition 112 before we're done, and that is that Jared Polis, running for governor, he has supported a 2,000-foot setback in the past. So that's not much less than the 2,500-foot setback that we have in Proposition 112. And so he supported that until it got taken off the ballot. And right now he's not in support of 112 because, it's not politically convenient right now because he's running for governor. But if he gets into office, he could, kind of backtrack on that and really push for some big setbacks. So this Proposition 112 needs to go down, and it needs to go down big time to send a message to Jared Polis and to the legislature. Yeah,
I find it interesting that Bernie Sanders is coming to town to stump for Jared Polis. That's an interesting alliance, isn't it?
It is interesting, especially because he's sort of pretending to be more moderate right now to appeal to some Colorado voters, and then at the end of the month, he's got Bernie Sanders coming in to appeal to the socialists, I suppose. Yeah,
exactly. Or just rile up the base, whatever it takes, right? Lindsey Singer, Communications Director, Colorado Rising Action. Thanks so much for your time and your perspectives this morning.
Thank you.